Welcome to Profitable Women, a podcast for the female business owner who wants to build a profitable and sustainable business that aligns with their life. We will talk about the money stories impacting your decisions, financial strategies to grow your profits, and how to embrace your female superpowers. I'm your host, Sheila Hansen, certified public accountant, business mentor, and certified coach. As a mom of three and business owner, I have spent the last 7 years supporting six-figure business owners make confident financial decisions while raising my babies. After making the hard decision to leave my job at a public accounting firm when I had my oldest, I'm now on a mission to empower women to build wealth without sacrificing themselves. If you find yourself avoiding conversations about money, are burnt out from working all the time, wonder where your cash goes, or want to learn how to pay yourself six figures, you're in the right place. Remember, the information in this podcast is general in nature and for educational purposes only. For specific financial advice for your situation, please consult a professional. Now, with that out of the way, let's get to the show. Welcome back to another episode of Profitable Women. Today, I'm coming with this theme that I have been seeing pop up, and I'm going to digest and dive into this topic and kind of just process it out with you of what I've been seeing and how I think it is all tying together. So the theme that I've been witnessing is this feeling of burnout, or where we've gone and maybe more are sharing about it now. And so that's why it's coming to light. Maybe more people are just feeling it. But I think it is this collection of those that have been business owners now. I'm going to say they're past that beginning stage, right? That early momentum, early excitement of getting their business off the ground has happened. And then we enter this phase of what I want to say a period of growth and fine-tuning, if we will, that business model. Then we hit this period where that early phase and what we went through, we can't sustain. The energy it took, who we're serving, how we're serving them is not sustainable. And so we go through this, okay, that got us here. Now I'm feeling overwhelmed or overloaded. It's causing me to overwork and leads to burnout, where we hit that moment of wanting to burn it all down. Maybe that comes from just our own feeling. Maybe that comes from an external circumstance that happens where we realize how much of a strain the business is having on us, whether that be, illness, injury, something like that, or having to step back for a family member, divorce, whatever it might be. Like, we realize that burnout phase. And then we come into this kind of rebuilding, revamping, redefining what our business is from here on out. I think there's always going to be some level of tweaking and adapting that happens. But I see this so common in, I'm going to call it like that 3 to 5 to 7 year range, maybe. It's those businesses that have made it past the beginning, but then it's gone on long enough that some of those long-term impacts of that energy are really starting to take hold. And I've seen this now in some ways with my own clients, right? Them going through their own journey of, okay, what was working is not working anymore because I'm feeling burnt out, or others sharing about it on social media. And I think it's really fascinating. There's so much to unpack in this particular topic, and there's not just one answer that solves it all. But for me, I think when we have businesses that are so tied to who we are, and especially in the, I'm going to say, service world, right, where the service we're providing is the makeup of the business, we have to go through this evolution as a business owner and really scrape down to the specifics and the details of who we are, how we want to show up, trial and error in some ways of what works and what doesn't, and really then come out the other side of this period where we maybe understand parts of it that didn't work, right? And we can let go. And I'm learning so much more about energy and moons and astrology and all of that, and how that energy plays into this. And this year specifically of 2025 going into 2026, there's this transition of shedding and letting go of what's no longer serving us so that in 2026, we can take action on what's really meant for us. And I'm wondering if there is a correlation between this burnout topic coming up now as people are entering or learning to do this shedding and moving towards the more aligned, more sustainable business going forward. I've experienced this in my own business. I've gone through this a couple different times. Mostly my periods of shedding and rebirth, if you will, corresponded to me also having birthed a human and a baby. And now that I am out of that phase of life where I'm actually birthing humans, and I can look at my business kind of on a different timeline, there is this version of shedding and rebirth that is happening. And there's so much that comes up in it. So one, I want you to know if you have experienced that, you are absolutely not alone. And there is a lot that's aligning as to why that may be happening now, or things that have happened in that phase of business in that 3 to 5, 7-year period, where we really take a look at what is it we have to offer? How do we want to offer it? And really open up to the possibilities of what that could look like, and letting go of, in some ways, that initial what got us here won't get us to the next phase. There's a constant evolution and up-leveling that's happening. And this concept also kind of came up too when I was having a call with my profit shift group. We were talking about, that call was about pricing, one of my favorite topics within the group. But we were talking about how we often have these legacy clients, we'll call them, where they started with us. You know, they were with us from the beginning. We are completely capable of still serving those clients. They are willing clients to be on our roster. But at some point, we have kind of evolved into what we're offering and how we're offering it and who we're offering it to is no longer matched with their business or their offer that we're serving them in that capacity. And so we have this decision in some ways to make. What happens with those legacy clients? Do they stay on? Do they up level along with us because their business is also evolving and we're still in alignment? Or is there a disengagement that happens? I served you well during this period when I was offering that, and now I'm no longer offering that particular service. And really, like, that decision that we're ready to shed that or let go of that, because we know what it opens up from possibilities and the clients that we do want to serve and how we want to serve them. Because at the end of the day, we ultimately have only so much capacity. Let's pause the content of the episode to talk about taxes for a minute, because they're not just a once-a-year thing. they're one piece of the financial pie, but not the whole thing. When you're running a business, waiting until March or April to think about taxes is like waiting until harvest season to start planting seeds. You need regular financial conversations, you need up-to-date financial data, and you need a strategy that supports all the moving parts: your income, your expenses, your growth, and yes, your taxes too. So here's your reminder. Don't wait until tax season to find your accountant. Build that relationship now, before the holidays and year-end rush, so you can fully take advantage of their expertise and secure your spot on their calendar. At Sheila Hansen LLC, we're currently accepting new business clients through our monthly support packages. That means you don't just get help at tax time, you get support all year long. We'll keep your numbers organized, your strategy aligned, and your peace of mind intact. You can learn more and apply at hansenllc.net, because your finances deserve attention year-round, not just in April. Now back to the episode. And so are we structuring and spending our energy and time on where we're headed and where we're going, or in some ways, what I want to say, tied to the past of where we've been? And what is that blend of evolving and being extremely grateful for those that were in our path along the way, but also knowing when is the time to move up? And I think burnout can often happen because we're spreading ourselves too thin, trying to serve too many clients, create too many different offers. And so we don't have that really focused priorities of where our time and attention go. And some of this can come from also understanding the number side of things, right? We have certain offers or service lines that are more profitable than others from a time, energy, and financial standpoint. And so really being able to understand that is a piece of it. But I think there's also a deeper piece of understanding who we are today and where we're headed to allow for our business to grow in that way. And I think of it kind of as, for us as moms, we see, our children changing. And sure, we want to hold on to those memories of them being little squishy babies that, lay on our chest, and that's the most energy they require out of us. And then they grow up to be toddlers who can talk to us and run around. And then they're all of a sudden coming home with schoolwork that you are really having to stretch your own brain on, how do I do this? Because I don't quite remember. And so they're growing and evolving, and it requires us to kind of adapt and adjust as a mom. And I think that happens in our business too. And it can be such a beautiful thing. But if we're showing up as a mom, trying to meet the needs they had as a newborn, when now they're toddler or school age, there's going to be a disconnect there, and it's not going to feel in alignment. And I think that's what happens in our business too, as our businesses grow, our businesses age, and the offers we have are developing and growing along with us. And so it is this, we can honor and accept where we've been, but also recognize that where we're going and what it's going to take from our standpoint to move along with the business is going to change. And I can say, for having a age gap of a full, let's see if I can do the math, that's silly, but 7 years. I have 7 years of an age gap between my oldest and my youngest, and a kiddo in between who's closer to the younger one than the older one. I have experienced this burnout not only from business, but also from my personal life, trying to fit all of those other seasons, if you will, right? What is required at different seasons is different. And so recognizing how I show up for my 11-year-old versus how I show up for my 4-year-old is a little bit different, and really honoring that. And so the burnout can come from when I'm trying to fit them into a mold of my 11-year-old being like my 4-year-old and my 4-year-old being my 11-year-old. And so really getting to blend this beauty of the season that we're in. But so much of it required me to shed who I was as the newborn mom up until the toddler years, right? Like when the ages spanned from newborn to 5, that was different than 4 to 7 now. And so I'm really curious about this burnout topic as it relates to business. And if it's happening when we are holding on to the older identity, if you will, the older version for just a little bit too long, if that's where the burnout comes from. And how do we have that conversation and open ourselves up to what is coming and shifting our energy towards that while building this sustainable model to where we don't get to the point of we need to burn it down and just walk away because we don't see the path forward of what that could look like. So I'd love for you to reach out to me and for us to have a conversation following this episode about this topic. But I think it is really interesting as we look at the energy in the world. We also have the added, we're coming out of the COVID years. So many people shifted and adapted. And so were those businesses started during that period. And now as we get a little bit further from that and the world is shifting and adapting again, what maybe worked during that season is not working now. And so we have to evolve from that. I'm really curious to see how that personal evolution aligns also with business evolution. So if you've gone through burnout, if you are going through burnout, or if you're trying to prevent burnout, I encourage you to get really curious about this holding on to things. And are there really parts or clients or offers that it's time to let go of to open up for the possibility of what's coming? Stay tuned for another episode next week.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Profitable Women. Make sure you never miss an episode by hitting the follow button in your favorite podcast player. And things are always easier when you talk about them with a friend, so be sure to share this episode with them. If you're looking for more ways to grow your financial confidence, head to the show notes for a link to subscribe to our weekly email. Until next time.